The film begins with a police officer chasing a suspicious car down the road. Once he finally stops it, the driver quietly pulls out a gun and hides it under his leg, trying not to raise suspicion. When the officer starts questioning him, the man stays silent. Even when asked for his license, he doesn't respond, and his face is never clearly shown. Just then, another police car arrives at the scene. Officer Jane steps out, the wife of the first officer. She calmly asks if everything is under control. The officer reassures her and tells her to leave, saying everything is fine. Jane begins to drive away, but through her rearview mirror, she notices the man arguing with her husband. Sensing something is wrong, she is about to turn back, but before she can react, the man suddenly shoots her husband. By the time Jane reaches him, it's already too late. He's dead. She immediately tries to shoot the killer, but he escapes before she can stop him. The scene then cuts to the same killer hiding inside a hotel room. A news report plays in the background, revealing that a dangerous serial killer is on the loose. He has already murdered 16 people, and the police have no leads. The killer listens calmly, fully aware that he is being hunted. He then goes to sleep in a strange room inside the hotel, carrying a weapon with him, always prepared for any situation. The next day, the killer is seen following another target. He tracks a woman into a pharmacy and patiently waits nearby. After some time, the woman comes out and gets into her car, unaware that the killer is already inside, waiting for her. Before she even realizes what's happening, he brutally kills her. Then, using her keys, he enters the pharmacy and steals a large number of strange prescription drugs. Meanwhile, Jane is shown grieving deeply over her husband's death. She is frustrated that the police have still not been able to catch the killer. Soon, news arrives that the killer has murdered another woman. This confirms her worst fear. He is a psychopath who won't stop unless someone stops him. Determined, Jane decides to take matters into her own hands. No matter what it takes, she will find this killer herself. She begins collecting evidence, tracking his patterns, and building her own case. But during this time, the killer continues his rampage, committing 10 more murders. His total body count now rises to 32, making the case even more serious. Eventually, the police hand the case over to the FBI. As a local officer, Jane now has very little authority over the investigation. She realizes that if she wants justice, she will have to solve it on her own. Meanwhile, the killer continues his deadly routine. While driving, he notices a car with a punctured tire on the roadside. A couple is stranded there. The man is fixing the tire while the woman waits inside the car. The killer stops his vehicle at a distance, calmly puts on his mask, and picks up a metal rod. Without hesitation, he walks up to the man and strikes him on the head, killing him instantly. Hearing the noise, the woman rushes out and sees her husband's lifeless body. Fear takes over as she realizes the killer is right behind her. She tries to run, but panic takes control. Instead of escaping, she runs straight into an oncoming truck. The driver tries to stop, but loses control. The truck overturns, and due to the oil it was carrying, a massive explosion occurs. The driver dies instantly. From a distance, the killer watches the entire chaos unfold without any emotion. After everything settles, he walks over to the woman's body and uses her blood to draw a disturbing symbol on her car, a symbol of Satan. This reveals a terrifying truth. He isn't just killing people, he is offering them as sacrifices. Soon, this horrifying incident makes headlines. The FBI team intensifies their investigation, and Jane approaches them, asking to help. She explains that she knows the killer better than anyone, and that he also killed her husband. But the lead officer refuses her involvement, leaving her frustrated and helpless. However, one FBI agent named Rebecca sees potential in Jane. She believes Jane can actually help catch the killer. Since she cannot openly go against her superior, Rebecca secretly invites Jane to a hotel after work. There, she decides to illegally share everything the FBI has discovered about the killer, hoping that together they can finally stop him. According to Jane, the killer mostly stayed inside his car. But Rebecca corrects her, explaining that he constantly shifts between different hotels, leaving clues behind each time. She also reveals something more disturbing. He isn't killing randomly. There is a deeper motive behind every murder, and everything he does follows a specific pattern. To prove this, Rebecca takes Jane to a hotel where the killer had stayed after one of his murders. Inside the room, they find several disturbing symbols drawn across the walls. These strange markings suggest that the killer might be connected to some kind of cult. Using Rebecca's laptop, Jane digs deeper and finally uncovers the killer's identity. His name is Richard. Now, the two of them begin analyzing his next move, trying to predict where he will go and what he plans to do next. Just as they are about to leave, Rebecca receives shocking news. A mall has just exploded, and the bomb used matches the same type the killer had stolen earlier after murdering an arms dealer. Meanwhile, the killer is already preparing for his next attack. He picks up a metal pipe and sharpens one end, turning it into a deadly weapon. The next morning, he walks into a church. Pretending to confess his sins, he takes a priest into a private room. While the priest is distracted in conversation, the killer suddenly stabs him in the throat with the sharpened pipe, and then drinks his blood from the other end. At the same time, Jane tracks him down to his hotel. She first asks the manager about his appearance, but the manager fails to recognize him. When they check the guest list, they find a name: Richard. Jane immediately heads to his room, gun in hand. She carefully searches the place and finds a suitcase, but it's empty. Slowly, she opens the washroom door and notices a gun inside. But the killer is nowhere to be seen. Just as she turns around, something unexpected happens. The closet behind her suddenly opens, and the killer steps out. He immediately attacks Jane, trying to kill her. But Jane reacts quickly and manages to defend herself. A brutal fight breaks out between them. They struggle intensely, each trying to overpower the other. In the end, the killer gains the upper hand and throws Jane through the window, shattering the glass. Without wasting a second, he jumps out after her and escapes in his car, leaving Jane stunned. Jane is shaken. She can't believe the killer came so close to killing her. After recovering, she thoroughly searches the room and finds a large amount of evidence that the killer forgot to erase. From this, she learns about his next possible move. Meanwhile, the killer contacts a man named Calvin. Calvin tells him that he saw his message and reveals that he is part of a similar cult. He offers to help the killer, saying they both serve a greater purpose and can work together. The killer agrees and goes to the location Calvin provided. There, he finds a group of people claiming to worship Satan. But as he observes them, he realizes something strange. These people are not part of any real cult. They have created their own twisted version of one. They are using drugs and performing bizarre rituals. The killer doesn't react, but silently observes everything. He eventually goes to his room with Calvin. During their conversation, he notices that Calvin behaves differently from the others. The killer tells him that he is searching for a man, someone whose name and address he doesn't know, but only understands what he does. Calvin confidently assures him that the task will be completed. Later, when the killer watches the news, he sees Jane giving an interview about the case. Instead of being worried, he feels pleased. In fact, the next day, he even calls the police station himself. When Jane takes the call, he speaks calmly, telling her that he is glad she is following him and not afraid. He even says that he will continue leaving clues for her, guiding her toward him. Hearing this shocks Jane completely. The fact that the killer is openly communicating with her makes the situation even more dangerous. Now she becomes even more cautious, realizing that everything he says might actually be true. Back at the cult, things take a darker turn. The leader, Thomas, drugs all the members and forces them into disturbing and absurd acts. Watching all this, the killer feels disgusted. He realizes that Calvin is not involved in these rituals like the others. In fact, whenever the killer meets Calvin, he even removes his mask, showing a rare sign of trust. Now that Calvin has given him the name, address, and contact details of the man he was searching for, his purpose for coming here is complete. Before leaving, he gives Calvin one final warning, telling him that if he is not like the others, he should never return to that place again. Then, without looking back, he walks away. At first, Calvin doesn't fully understand what he meant, but very soon, everything becomes clear. The killer picks up an axe and a can of gasoline, then walks straight back into the mansion. Inside the same room where the cult members were performing their rituals, he begins a brutal massacre. One by one, he kills everyone with the axe, showing no mercy at all. Blood splashes everywhere as the room turns into a nightmare. Finally, he reaches their leader and splits his head open with a single powerful strike, ending his life instantly. After killing everyone, he pours gasoline all over the place and sets the entire mansion on fire, burning it to the ground. Just as he is about to leave, he notices movement near a window. He realizes someone is watching him from outside. Thinking quickly, he removes his mask, places it on a stick, and holds it in front of the window while hiding behind a wall. The moment the mask appears, a bullet is fired, destroying it instantly. The person behind the shot is none other than Jane. She had tracked him down using the evidence he left behind. Seeing him escape, she immediately jumps into her car and starts chasing him. But the killer is far more cunning. He crashes into her car with full force, pushing it into a ditch and leaving her stranded. This fills Jane with intense frustration and anger as the killer escapes once again. Shortly after, the FBI arrives at the scene. Jane is furious because she had warned them earlier, but they ignored her, arriving too late. Meanwhile, the killer is already moving ahead with his next deadly plan. He reaches the house of a man named Bill. Finding no one at home, he breaks in and goes down into the basement, where he begins preparing explosive devices. Later that evening, Bill returns home with his wife, completely unaware of what awaits them. The killer suddenly appears and terrifies them both. He then blackmails Bill, threatening to kill his wife if he refuses to cooperate. At the same time, Jane continues following the clues left behind by the killer. She arrives at a building but finds nothing unusual inside. However, she notices something written near a window. 3 miles. This becomes another clue. Confused at first, she scans the area using her sniper scope and spots a nuclear facility in the distance. It is the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant. Suddenly, everything starts to make sense. She remembers that the previous clue also had today's date written on it. Connecting all the dots, she realizes the killer's true plan. He is not just killing people, he is planning something massive. He intends to destroy the nuclear plant and wipe out the entire city. The explosion would not only kill thousands instantly, but also spread radiation, causing destruction across nearby regions. Now everything becomes clear. The man he captured is actually the manager of the nuclear power plant. The killer hides the manager's wife in his car to blackmail him and forces him to cooperate. He then takes the man to the facility. Along the way, they encounter security guards, but the killer eliminates them instantly using grenades and gunfire. Moving deeper inside, he kills more guards and finally reaches the control room. There, he threatens everyone with his gun and forces them to leave, leaving only himself and the manager inside. Meanwhile, Jane rushes toward the power plant after understanding the entire plan. She warns the security team that something terrible is about to happen. At first, they hesitate to believe her. But suddenly, alarms begin ringing throughout the facility. Now they realize Jane was right all along. Together, they rush inside, only to find a horrifying scene. All the guards are dead, and the workers are standing outside in fear. Inside the control room, the killer forces the manager to activate the power plant. The man resists at first, but when the killer threatens his wife's life, he has no choice but to obey. As soon as the system is activated, the killer shoots the manager, killing him without hesitation. Then, he places a grenade inside the control room and removes his shirt, revealing something terrifying. His entire body is strapped with bombs. He is ready to blow himself up along with the entire facility. The people outside panic and suggest trying to negotiate with him, but Jane knows the truth. She says this is not a man who can be reasoned with. He has already killed more than 50 people, and his only goal now is destruction, even if it costs him his own life. From outside, the team tries desperately to break open the control room door, but it is taking too long, and Jane knows the killer will trigger the explosion much sooner. She realizes she cannot wait any longer. She has to reach him immediately. Just then, a guard informs her that the killer is visible from an upstairs window. Without wasting a second, Jane rushes upstairs and takes position with her sniper rifle. She fires multiple shots, shattering the bulletproof glass. Now she has a clear line of sight. She aims carefully and shoots at his legs, trying to stop him from moving. But even that doesn't stop him. With one hand still free, the killer prepares to detonate the explosives. Seeing this, Jane reacts instantly. She shoots his hand, preventing him from activating the remaining bombs. Then, without hesitation, she fires a final shot, straight to his head, killing him on the spot. At last, she avenges all the innocent lives he took. But even after killing him, she feels no relief. Because the danger is not over yet. A live grenade is still active inside the control room, and it could explode at any moment, destroying the entire city. Time is running out. Just in time, the guards manage to break open the door and rush inside. They quickly deactivate the system, preventing the explosion and saving the city from total destruction. With that, the nightmare finally comes to an end.
But in the post-credit scene, the story takes a shocking turn. It is revealed that on the day Jane killed the killer, he was not actually dead. He was still alive and taken into police custody, being transported to prison. This raises a terrifying question. Can someone this dangerous ever truly be contained? Even after moving forward in life, Jane continues to carry this fear within her. She constantly wonders if the killer might return someday to continue his horrific mission. But now, there is nothing she can do. The law has taken over, and his fate has been decided by the court. And with that uneasy thought, the story ends, leaving behind a chilling and unsettling conclusion.